In a small Igbo village, there stood a giant Ukpaka tree by the riverbank, older than memory, older than the village itself. Its roots twisted like claws, its branches reached into the sky like a warning. The elders forbade anyone from going near it after dusk. They said a woman's spirit dwelled inside the tree, a restless soul from centuries past. Betrayed and wronged, she bound herself to the Ukpaka, and since then, her hunger had never faded. At night, the villagers swore they heard her, a soft whisper drifting through the air, gentle, almost familiar. She called your name in the voice of your mother or your sister or someone you loved. And if you followed, if you stepped too close, you were never seen again. Children whispered the tale in secret, shivering under their mats, daring each other to go near the tree. But no one dared, for they knew the woman of the Ukpaka tree was always watching, waiting for the next soul to claim. One restless evening, Nnamdi, a proud young man known for his defiance, scoffed at the elders' warnings. He despised rules and mocked traditions, calling them the chains of the weak. Gathered around the fire, he laughed loudly at his friends' uneasy faces. "Spirits are for children and cowards," he boasted. "Tomorrow you'll see. The tree holds no power over me." Some begged him not to go. Others stayed silent, afraid to even speak against the Ukpaka tree. But Nnamdi's pride was heavier than their fear. When the moon rose high that night, silver light spilling over the forest, Nnamdi set out alone. His cowrie necklace glimmered faintly on his chest, and his wooden staff tapped the ground with every step. The deeper he went, the quieter the world became. The night birds were gone. The insects had fallen silent. Even the wind refused to stir. The forest was still, unnaturally so, as though it too was holding its breath. And then, ahead of him, the Ukpaka tree loomed massive and dark against the pale moonlight. As Nnamdi reached the base of the towering Ukpaka tree, his steps slowed, and at last he froze. The air had grown colder, heavy, pressing down on his chest. Then, from the silence, it came. A soft, female voice whispered his name. "Nnamdi?" His blood ran cold. He spun around sharply, eyes scanning the shadows, but no one stood behind him. The forest was empty. The voice came again, this time sweeter, softer, and strangely familiar. "Nnamdi, my son, come closer." It was his mother's voice, his mother long gone to the land of ancestors, calling him as she did when he was a child. His heart pounded, yet his pride burned hotter than his fear. He clenched his staff tighter, forcing a smirk across his face. "They said you would frighten me," he muttered, "but I am not afraid." Still, his body betrayed him. His hands trembled, his breath quickened, and yet, step by step, he moved forward, drawn by the voice, drawn by the promise hidden within it. The roots of the tree curled in the moonlight like waiting arms, and the shadows around him seemed to close in. But Nnamdi's pride was louder than his caution, louder than his fear. And so he stepped nearer. The trunk of the Ukpaka tree shivered as though alive. Its bark rippled, and slowly a figure began to emerge. Out of the wood stepped a woman. She was tall, unnaturally tall, her frame bending as though she carried the weight of centuries. Her hair was long, tangled and wild, draping over her shoulders like living vines. An old wrapper clung to her form, faded and torn, yet it seemed to shimmer faintly under the silver moonlight. Her skin was strange, rough, bark-like, as though she was not fully flesh, but part of the tree itself. And then her eyes lifted. They were empty, completely black, not a glimmer of light, not a reflection, only void. And when she smiled, the night itself seemed to recoil. Her teeth were too sharp, too many, glinting unnaturally in the darkness. It was the smile of something that had forgotten humanity long ago. Her voice drifted through the clearing, soft and low, almost sweet, carrying the cadence of a lullaby. "Sit with me," she whispered, patting the thick roots that coiled like waiting arms. The sound echoed unnaturally, as though the forest itself repeated her words, beckoning him closer. Nnamdi, trembling, sat down. The woman sang a haunting lullaby, and though his heart raced, his body grew heavy. He struggled to stand, but his limbs felt like they were sinking into the soil. The woman leaned closer, her face shifting. One moment his mother, the next his sister, then his betrothed. "Stay with me forever," she whispered. The roots of the great Ukpaka tree coiled tighter, twisting like living snakes, dragging Nnamdi deeper into the hungry earth. His staff slipped from his grasp, swallowed by the soil. The woman's cold smile lingered in the bark, her black eyes gleaming with triumph as she clutched the glowing cowrie necklace against her chest. The forest grew still, as if every leaf, every creature dared not breathe. The air thickened, heavy with dread, suffocating until it seemed the night itself had sealed shut. Then came silence, endless, crushing silence, as though the darkness had swallowed not only Nnamdi's cries, but his very existence. By dawn, when the mist still clung to the earth, Nnamdi's friends searched desperately for him. They followed his trail through the damp grass, their voices breaking the silence of morning. But the path ended abruptly at the great Ukpaka tree. His footprint stopped there, and then nothing. No broken branches, no cry for help, only the heavy stillness of a secret the forest refused to give back. The elders gathered in silence, their wrinkled faces dark with sorrow. At last, one spoke with a voice heavy as stone. "He has been taken," he said. "The woman of the Ukpaka tree does not return what she claims." Whispers spread like fire through the village. Mothers pulled their children close. Fathers warned their sons not to wander after dusk. And in every heart the same dread bloomed, for the people knew the spirit had fed, and in time it would hunger again. But that night, when the moon hung cold and pale over the huts, something strange stirred. From deep within the roots of the Ukpaka tree, a new voice whispered. It was low, familiar, and haunting. It was Nnamdi's. "Brother, come, sit with me." The children swore they saw it first. A long shadow dancing beneath the branches, moving as though it were alive. A figure that looked like Nnamdi, smiling faintly in the moonlight, his glowing cowrie necklace gleaming from the darkness. Bound forever, neither man nor spirit claimed by the woman of the Ukpaka tree. And from that night on, the villagers say, the tree was never silent again.